all India tea prices on an average have risen to nearly 200 rupees per kg in the January to October 2024 period, which is an increase of about 18% versus corresponding period last year. Tea prices in North India have risen by 20%, while in Southern India, tea prices have risen by nearly 12%. But remember, tea production in India continues to fall. Adverse climatic conditions and pest infestation is weighing heavy on tea production. To understand all this and more, we now have Arijit Raha, Secretary General of Indian Tea Association, now joining us. Mr. Raha, thank you so much for taking your time out and speaking with us here on ET Now. And first up, let's talk about tea prices because we have seen an increase of about 18% on a year-on-year basis. Help us understand how do the figures stack up on ground, and also tell us about the factors which are driving the move in tea prices.
Thank you for having me. A very good afternoon. Well, yes, you rightly said that the prices have increased by about 18% for all India. It is about 30 rupees in real terms. In North India, the increase is higher. It is about 21% in North India. And in South India, the price increase is about 12.5, about 11%, 12%, as you've said. But we are concerned because if you see the sale on sale price movements from October, after October, there has actually been a slide in the prices that we are witnessing in Kolkata and Guwahati auctions, and as well as in Siliguri. And depending on the category, the price slide is to the level of anything between 11 to 30 rupees. So in an environment where production is less, one would have expected prices to remain very steady and continue to rise. Coming to the production part, I think as we speak, we have figures up to September available from the tea board. The production is down by about 7.7%, about 77 million kgs for India as a whole. The deficit in Assam is about 5.3%. West Bengal, the deficit is higher at 12.3%. South India is about 7%. Now, in the months of October and November, we've had a very good crop, as we term it in tea parlance, and the production has been higher than the earlier years. And that could possibly explain the reason why there's a sluggish demand and prices have dropped suddenly. Having said that, I think as we look at the production landscape in general, given the fact that we are already 77 million short as of now, and also the fact that there would be an impending closure on production from 1st of December, mandated by the tea board for the North Indian tea plantations, we should definitely be closing this year at levels below last year.
Since you spoke about production, and that production in the month of October and November has been higher as compared to same time last year, help us understand, will we be able to cover up for the decline in production that we've seen in the first 8 or 9 months of the year?
It is unlikely that the entire deficit will be made up. But yes, there would be some makeup that is possible. There'll be some deficit that is made up, and that is why I am not putting a number to it. But since we are going to be closing from 1st of December, and December we had produced about 66 million kgs of tea last year, and if that space, that volume does not come into the production space, naturally the total levels, the total production that we ultimately close at will be lower than the 1393 million that we produced in 2023.
We are unlikely to cover up for the decline in production and the deficit in the second half of the year. But Mr. Raha, also wanted your thoughts on the demand environment, both domestic and export. How is it shaping up?
As far as exports are concerned, Indian exports are up by about 31.8 million kgs up to August. That is the tea board figure that is available with us, which is about a 22% increase. We have had major gains in Iraq, Russia, UAE, USA, and Iran. And hopefully we will be definitely closing the year above last year's levels of 231 million kgs. So there appears to be a demand for Indian tea. I think given the quality profile and the compliance profile, which has improved substantially in the last one or 2 years. And exports are actually increasing.
Increasing, and there appears to be a demand for Indian tea. But Mr. Raha, help us understand which geographies are contributing to the increased demand.
As I said, it is coming from Iraq, Russia, UAE, USA, and Iran. These are the main where you had gains in tea.
Reports also suggest that tea producers of Asia are now targeting South African market to export their tea. Is this true? And help us understand what is the potential of the South African markets for Indian players to actually export tea to that market?
Well, I think this emanated in the Asia Tea Alliance meeting that we had earlier this month in Calcutta with the Asia Tea Alliance partners, this is a forum that brings together producing associations from Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, Nepal, India, and China. So, given the fact that the global scenario, prices are depressed, global prices, if you see the global prices in the last 10 years, from 2018 to 2023, global prices in all the major tea producing countries, that is India, Sri Lanka, Kenya, Bangladesh, have grown at a CAGR of sub 1%. There is obviously, if you put it in perspective, given the global production of about 6,603 million kgs of 23, and the surplus that is there in the system, which was estimated 391 million kgs, this is having a pull-down effect on prices globally. This year, in 2024, as we speak, the production is down in India, it is down in Bangladesh, it is down in Rwanda. However, production has increased again in Kenya, about 14%. Sri Lanka is ahead. So therefore, by the end of the year, if we again find that the global production, so to speak, is more or less at par with what it was last year or close, the surplus that I just mentioned to you of 391 million kgs, that would subsist. So given this issue of an oversupply that is prevailing in the global market, the meeting discussed what could be the possible avenues to increase consumption of tea globally. And in that context, it was flagged that given the fact that the traditional tea consuming markets of Europe are reaching a saturation point, Africa is one nation where tea is produced but primarily exported. So therefore, one could look at Africa as a destination to bring in a cultural change of tea drinking. This was flagged by our chairman at the Asia Tea Alliance meet recently. This is something that we are all trying to think about and try to formulate a strategy to look at how global consumption could be increased, because that seems to be the only solution, given the fact that tea employs millions of people. There is no way that you can cut down production of tea. So therefore, it is linked intricately to lives and livelihoods of farmers. Therefore, the supply side interventions are continuing. Expansion is continuing. Naturally, there is a need to boost demand, boost consumption to find the demand-supply equilibrium, and for the industry as a whole globally to remain sustainable.
Some of the trends and demand supply dynamics and how it is shaping up globally as far as tea is concerned. But Mr. Raha, one last question, and it is a thematic question. Wanted to understand how climatic changes are impacting the quality and production, the quantum of production of tea, both in domestic market as well as globally. Are erratic rainfalls and rise in temperature impacting production of tea?
Well, tea is a rain-fed crop, as you know. And there are two issues. One, we are witnessing the volumes of rainfall in the last couple of years to have reduced. The Tea Research Institute in Costlier has recorded that between 2018 to 22, there's been a reduction of almost 200 millimeters of rain through the year. That's one. The second is when you have rain not interspersed evenly, when it comes in spurts in large volumes, it creates waterlogging, it erodes the soil, topsoil, and it has the waterlogging creates an abiotic stress on the tea plants, affecting their productivity. So that is one problem. You have floods in most of the tea growing areas. So you have rivulets flowing through gardens, which need to be dredged. So these are issues on one hand. On the other hand, as you rightly said, the base level temperature, at least in Assam, has increased by 1.2% to centigrade in the last couple of years. And we are witnessing that there are the number of hot days where temperature rises above 35 degrees C has increased drastically. So what heat waves do, they induce stress, water-related stress on the plants, which reduces productivity. It also affects the productivity of labor. So these are two issues that we are grappling with. Because of the heat waves, because of the droughts, the dependence on the tea sector on irrigation has never been as pronounced as it is today. This requires huge expenditure, which is being done by the industry. We are looking forward to some kind of assistance coming from the government in terms of the agricultural ministry irrigation schemes being made applicable to tea estates. That's one. And in terms of water harvesting, drip irrigation and other interventions, we are looking at possible innovations that could actually help us remain sustainable in this otherwise difficult situation.
Understood. We get that point. Mr. Raha, thank you so much for taking your time out and speaking with us on a whole host of issues from climatic conditions and its impact, as well as the latest pricing and demand trends. Thank you so much for taking your time out and speaking with us. Let's move on and let's shift focus to our next segment, Did You Know? And today we will put the spotlight on coffee, because coffee is the primary source of caffeine in the world and is the second most traded commodity after crude oil. The coffee market is worth over $100 billion worldwide, and 2/3 of the world's coffee is grown in North and South America, 90% of which is in developing countries. Brazil, Vietnam and Colombia are the 3 top producers of coffee. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of the show, but you don't go anywhere. Stay tuned to ET Now.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.